34 knockouts across kickboxing and MMA, 2 Glory World titles held at the same time, 3 UFC championship belts, Israel Adesanya unconscious and needing an oxygen mask, Jiri Prochazka dropped twice, Jamahal Hill flatlined after waving off his own groin shot break. This is the knockout registry of Alex Poatan Pereira. UFC referee Mark Goddard, 20 years of officiating, said the sound of Pereira hitting people is ungodly. He started collecting them in kickboxing. The origin. That power came from a favela in São Paulo, a liter of rum a day at a tire shop, and a coach who saw stone in his hands. He was born July 7, 1987. He dropped out at 12. He worked construction with his father as a kid, then spent 14 years changing tires. He was an alcoholic by 16. At 21, he walked into a kickboxing gym to get sober. His trainer, Balok gave him the nickname Poatan from the Tupi language. Po means hand. Atan means stone. The man has pebbles tattooed on his left fist. That is the one that ends fights. Pereira once said, "Sometimes my power even scares me. I know my opponents choose to fight of their own free will, but they have families and loved ones, and I know I can hurt you." He compiled 33 wins and 7 losses in kickboxing, with 21 knockouts. In mixed martial arts, he went 10 wins and 2 losses, with 8 finishes in the UFC. He was the first fighter to hold both UFC middleweight and light heavyweight gold. Glory Kickboxing, the early registry. Dustin Jacoby, March 8, 2014. Arena Zagreb, Glory 14, middleweight contender tournament. Jacoby was a UFC veteran who had won the Road to Glory tournament for his spot. 2 minutes. Left hook. Done. Jacoby reflected years later. He's super fast. He's a lot faster than it appears. I've never felt anything like it. When we fought, he actually caught me with a right hand 30 seconds into the fight. It definitely rocked me, but I was still present. He wasn't present much longer. Israel Adesanya, March 4, 2017. Glory of Heroes 7, São Paulo. Adesanya walked in with a record of 75 wins and 4 losses in kickboxing, an 18-fight win streak. He had already beaten Pereira by decision 11 months earlier. He was a heavy favorite. Simon Marcus said Adesanya was taking Pereira to school through 2 rounds, landing at will. Pereira looked frustrated. Round 3. Pereira stalked forward. Adesanya ducked a right high kick. Pereira blocked the counter, stepped in and landed a right hook, then the left. Adesanya went stiff. He hit the canvas and required an oxygen mask. This was his first knockout loss as a professional in either kickboxing or mixed martial arts. The footage became the most replayed clip in combat sports for years. Adesanya later said he was more mad at himself. He said the fact that he did not stay true to his style bothered him, and that he had let some things from outside into his psyche. He said he had Pereira on the ropes and thought he was going to get him out of there. He said he spammed right hands, and that was not his style. Pereira never let him forget. Pereira said he never forgot any word that Adesanya said, and he used that as motivation to climb all the way up here. Yusri Belgarui, July 20th, 2018. Madison Square Garden, Glory 55. Belgarui was the #1 ranked fighter. He had beaten Pereira by decision in their first fight. The second fight ended via doctor stoppage TKO. It was a rubber match. 2 minutes, 29 seconds, round 1. Pereira absorbed a stiff right, then threw an overhand right that put Belgarui out cold in the center of the ring. Jason Wilnis, May 17, 2019. Utrecht, Glory 65. Personal. Wilnis was a former Glory middleweight champion. He held a 2-0 record over Pereira, a TKO in 2012, and a decision in 2015. It was a trilogy fight with redemption on the line. 91 seconds in, Pereira's head kick dropped Wilnis. A standing 8 count followed. The referee cleaned his gloves and then restarted the action. Pereira charged with a flying switch knee, landing flush on the chin. Wilnis was out cold. It was the 2019 knockout of the year. Even commentators who had seen thousands of fights called it unprecedented. Donaghy Abena, September 28, 2019. Miami. Glory 68, Pereira's light heavyweight debut, moving up to 205 pounds. Abena was the #2 ranked light heavyweight. The first 2 rounds were competitive. In round 3, a close-range left hook landed and Abena face-planted. Pereira became the first fighter in Glory history to hold 2 titles at once, middleweight and light heavyweight, simultaneously. Ertugrul Bayrak, December 21st, 2019. Arnhem, Netherlands. Glory 74, fifth and final middleweight title defense. Pereira worked the body with a right hand, then landed a left hook at the exact moment the bell sounded. Bayrak crashed into the ropes, unconscious as the horn blared. 3 consecutive knockouts in 2019. Wilness, Abena, Bayrak. The tire shop worker was now a 2-division world champion. UFC, the Octagon Registry. Andreas Michailidis, November 6, 2021. Madison Square Garden. UFC 268. Pereira's Octagon debut. Michailidis, nicknamed the Spartan, was the first Greece-born fighter from Greece in the UFC. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Versatile grappler. He controlled round 1. He took Pereira down and kept him caged. 18 seconds into round 2, a flying knee landed. Michailidis crumpled. Follow-up punches finished the fight. He was released from the UFC on June 8, 2022. Sean Strickland, July 2, 2022, Las Vegas. UFC 276 title eliminator. The winner would face Adesanya. Strickland was ranked number 4. He came in on a 6-fight win streak. A high-volume striker, a controversial personality. He fought his standard style, standing tall, walking forward with a stiff posture. Mistake. 2 minutes 30 seconds into the first round, a short left hook. Strickland dropped. He tried to rise. A follow-up right hand dropped him again. Stoppage. He bounced back. He became middleweight champion by beating Adesanya at UFC 293 in September 2023. But that night in Vegas, just another entry in the registry. Israel Adesanya, November 12, 2022. Madison Square Garden, UFC 281 Middleweight Championship. Adesanya entered as the defending champion. It was his 6th title defense, and he was on a 12-fight middleweight win streak. It was the 3rd fight between them after the 2016 decision and the 2017 knockout. Pereira was 2-0 in their series entering the octagon. Adesanya was winning. 86 of 162 significant strikes landed. He controlled the pace through 4 rounds and was ahead on the scorecards going into the 5th. Pereira's calf kick struck Adesanya's peroneal nerve, and it compromised his footwork. Down on points, Pereira pressed forward. Adesanya was pinned against the cage when a flush left hook badly rocked him. Pereira swarmed with power shots until Mark Goddard stepped in. This was Pereira's 4th UFC fight, his 7th professional MMA bout, and it came against the middleweight champion. Adesanya explained that Pereira hit his peroneal nerve, which is why his footwork was compromised. Adesanya got revenge at UFC 287 when he knocked out Pereira in round 2 to reclaim the belt, but that night at Madison Square Garden, the stone caught up. Light heavyweight, The Trail. Jiří Procházka. 1. November 11, 2023. Madison Square Garden again. Procházka was the former light heavyweight champion. He submitted Glover Teixeira, Pereira's own coach, at UFC 275. He was the first Czech UFC champion, an unorthodox, samurai-style pressure fighter. Procházka started strong. He scored takedowns in round 1. In round 2, he charged forward. Pereira countered with a left uppercut. Procházka dropped. Pereira landed hammer fists and elbows from mount. The referee called the stoppage. He became the 9th fighter in UFC history to become a 2-division champion. He was the first to hold middleweight and light heavyweight titles. 7 fights total. Procházka accepted it. He said he thought it was right. He said he was out, but he added that he would never stop. Pereira claimed territory. He said, "It is my house here now." He meant Madison Square Garden. Jamahal Hill, April 13, 2024. Las Vegas, UFC 300. Hill's first light heavyweight title defense. Hill was the former champion. He beat Glover Teixeira at UFC 283. He was the first Dana White's Contender Series alum to win UFC Gold. Then came the sequence. Hill kicked low to the groin area. Referee Herb Dean stepped in to pause the action. Pereira held up his hand, waved off the referee, and refused the break. Refusing the courtesy pause signaled he wanted Hill conscious for the finish. Moments later, a left hook dropped Hill. Ground and pound, and it was over. 24 of 30 significant strikes landed, 80% accuracy. Jiří Procházka, the 2nd, June 29, 2024. Las Vegas, UFC 303. 2 weeks notice. McGregor vs. Chandler fell through, a broken toe. Both Pereira and Procházka had fought 2.5 months earlier at UFC 300. Pereira had broken toes of his own. End of round 1. A huge left hook dropped Procházka. He was saved by the bell. Round 2 opened. Pereira launched a switch head kick. Procházka crashed to the canvas. Follow-up punches landed at 13 seconds. Performance of the night bonus plus a $303,000 special payout. Dana White agreed to the number at the press conference, a nod to the event number and payment for saving the card on short notice. Khalil Roundtree Jr., October 5, 2024, Salt Lake City, UFC 307. Third title defense. Roundtree entered ranked number 8. He was criticized for getting a title shot at such a low ranking. He rode a 5-fight win streak. He was known as the Glory Kickboxing Killer. He had beaten former kickboxing standouts including Dustin Jacoby. Roundtree surprised everyone. He won rounds 1 and 2 on all scorecards. His speed and southpaw stance troubled Pereira. He even dropped Pereira with a right hand in round 2, but Pereira's leg kicks and bodywork stacked damage. In round 4, Roundtree faded. Pereira sensed it. A right hand hurt him. A body shot combination folded him. 127-61 in significant strikes overall. In round 4 alone, it was 63-15. UFC record, 3 title defenses in 175 days. He broke Ronda Rousey's 189-day mark. Pereira's strategy was to let Roundtree tire. Pereira said he watched a lot of Roundtree's fights and saw that Roundtree's stamina started decreasing in the second round. Pereira added that his own stamina only goes up. 3 wars in 175 days at 37 years old. That leaves scar tissue, mental and physical. The loss and the reclamation. UFC 313, March 2025. Magomed Ankalaev ended the reign by unanimous decision. Wrestling and tactical footwork neutralized Pereira's power for 5 rounds. 7 months later. UFC 320, October 2025. Rematch. Pereira entered at plus 230 odds. 89% of BetMGM bets were on Ankalaev. The Dagestani's 14-fight unbeaten streak was the longest active at light heavyweight. Different approach. Pereira took center of the cage immediately, applying forward pressure and targeting the upper frame instead of setting up leg kicks. An overhand right to the temple, and Ankalaev was hurt. He panicked and shot for a takedown. Pereira stuffed the shot, then unloaded punches and elbows. 1 minute and 20 seconds into the first round, Pereira became a 2-time light heavyweight champion, 3 UFC title reigns total, 1 at middleweight and 2 at light heavyweight. Ankalaev's streak snapped. Pereira addressed the doubters. He said, "I told everyone I was not in a good condition last time. Nobody believed it. You saw it. Tonight's result did not surprise me." The numbers. 62.1% significant striking accuracy, highest in UFC history among fighters with over 1,000 attempts. 6 knockouts in UFC title fights. Second only to Anderson Silva. Most knockouts in light heavyweight title fights, 6 in total, passing Chuck Liddell. Fastest 2-division champion. 736 days and 7 bouts from debut to the second belt. Conor McGregor took 1,316 days. Henry Cejudo took 1,638 days. UFC.com 2024 Fighter of the Year. Tied with Ilia Topuria. The registry. Glory Kickboxing. Adesanya, Wilnis, Belgarui, Abena, Bayrak, Jacoby. 21 knockouts total. UFC, Mikhailidis, Strickland, Adesanya, Prochazka twice, Hill, Roundtree, Ankalaev. 8 knockouts in 10 wins. From a favela to a 3-time UFC champion. From a tire shop to the most devastating knockout artist in modern combat sports. He is 38 years old. Chin questions after the Ankalaev decision loss. Wrestling liability exposed. Heavyweight ambitions rumored. Stone hands. No warning. That is the registry.